Jai Baba,
Okay.
friends. This is Mr. Menorah, and he's just headed off to a different screen, and he will light the 7th candle for tonight. Jai Baba.
There you go.
Yeah.
Super. Oh. Bad luck.
Next to you.
Oh, these candles suck.
They were bad.
Yes. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu ledliknei shel hanukah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher nisim navotenu vayamim hahem bizman hazeh.
Don't you have to leave one candle for two? Oh, no, never, excuse me. No.
Got it? Whoa.
Ooh, is that beautiful?
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Jai Baba.
Oh, yes. Avatar, Meher Baba, Ki Jai.
Beautiful menorah.
Beautiful.
I like the picture of Baba that you have too, right there next to the menorah.
Does anybody see Baba's face in the menorah right under the candles on the candlestick holders?
Oh no, really? Are you one of those people who can see Baba's face and everything?
Only when I take LSD, but I don't take LSD. So
Well, if you got any extra, pass it along.
I usually laugh at people who see, Jesus or Baba in toast or in the clouds, but frankly, I totally see him in every single one.
Yes, and everyone,
Wow.
little face.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
You
Yeah,
mean the
that's so
holders,
nice.
the holders themselves.
The holder
Yeah,
itself,
exactly.
Yeah.
the base of the candles.
I can't see the flames. I just see the white part.
No. Go down to where the base of the candle
No,
is.
but
So now you won't laugh, Diane.
All right, now, Mr. Menorah, let's get back to, we have not too long, 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. So Jay, do you have something to tell us?
Yeah, what I thought I'd do, if you don't mind, is give you a quick history of the small number of events the last year or so that led up to Hanukkah. And instead of trying to cover like a couple of decades, I'm just going to cover just a few months.
Okay.
And at the time that I'm going to start, there had been a attempt. Oh yeah, 167 BCE. There'd been an attempt by the ruler of the Seleucids, who wanted to control Jerusalem, to purge all the Jews. And I mean purge, like either kill them or get rid of them. He was running around forcing everybody to eat pork, and if they didn't eat pork, he'd kill them. And any mother who got her kid circumcised, he'd take the baby and the mother up to the top of the wall of Jerusalem and kick them off. Eventually, people got the idea. But the thing is, Jerusalem at that time had already gotten very tainted with money and desire to not be Hebrew. The men, for example, were practicing this method of extending their foreskins, what was left of them, so that they looked more like Greeks. And in the temple, they had built a gymnasium, a Greek gymnasium, and put up a big idol of Jupiter, who was designed to look like this king, Antiochus Epiphanes, to placate him. And the priests attended the gymnasium so much that they forgot to actually do the ceremonies. There were just times when all the priests were in the gymnasium. Now, the temple at that time had become a source of great wealth. between the money changing of money into shekels, which was a great way to get a lot of money from people from foreign countries. You needed a shekel to get in, and they would tell you how much a shekel was worth, and it was worth everything you had. They also were getting lots of donations of gold from people who were coming to Jerusalem, hoping to get resurrected at the time of the Last Judgment. So, and about 164, Antiochus decided that he'd had enough of the Jews, and he decided to take all the treasure from the temple. And what he took from the temple was, let me see if I can remember right, 1,700 talents of gold. Now, talents, 70 pounds. So he basically took almost 65 tons of gold from the treasury of the temple. That's roughly $4 billion in today's money. That's what the temple had. The temple was a place for money. The temple was a place to practice being Greek. The temple was no longer anything at all related to Judaism and God. And this went on until they started to reach out into the countryside and trying to kill all the Jews in the countryside. And a Jew priest, a Pharisee, stood up to him and said he was going to have a rebellion, and people followed him into the hills to fight against the Seleucid, the soldiers who were trying to kill them all. And that guy's name was Mattathias. And Mattathias led the Jews into the hills, where they ran little guerrilla tactics against the Seleucids and barely survived. Then one day the Seleucids discovered that on the Sabbath, the Jews would just go into a cave and sit and not fight. And when they discovered this, they thought, hey, here's a great idea. Let's go to the cave and set them all on fire, which they did. And finally, the Jews went to Mattathias and said, hey, this thing about not doing anything on the Sabbath, how seriously are we supposed to take that? Mattathias said, what good is the Sabbath if there's no one left to honor it? And he decided that the Jews could fight back on the Sabbath, and that was a good thing. So they did these skirmishes and ran around the hills, hiding in caves for close to 3 years. And then Mattathias died, and his son, Judas, who was called the Hammer, or in Greek, Maccabee, Judas Maccabee began to take over the fight against the Seleucids who were trying to kill everybody. And he did a great job. He was amazingly forceful, and he ambushed the Seleucids and everything so much that even though there was still a garrison in Jerusalem, when Judas Maccabee brought his army into Jerusalem, the garrison said, yeah, that's fine. We're not fighting. We're just here. Don't worry. So Judas and his little army got and saw what had happened to the temple in the 3 years that the Seleucids have been making all this mess. And what had happened to the temple was that, yes?
No, it was
What had happened to the temple was that the Seleucids had done everything they could to make it nasty. They had spread pig shit all over everything. They'd taken anything of any value, and they had put on the place where they used to keep the Ark of the Covenant. They had put something that is still to this day called the abomination of desolation. And people who've seen it wrote down that they saw it, and they don't even want to describe what they saw. I have no idea what the abomination of desolation is, but the basic idea here is that the temple was completely desecrated. And when Judas and his people saw this, they had thought that they were going to recover the temple. They would once again start honoring their God, but they were completely desolate. So they went to a hill across the way, the Mount of Olives, and they thought about it. They put on sackcloth, they hid themselves with ashes, and they finally decided they would go back and try and clean up the place. So for the next year or so, they tried to clean up the temple. and it took them about a year. And at the end of the year, it was nice and clean. They'd even found things to substitute for the original menorah and the original table of showbread and all the things that are supposed to be in the temple. And they decided to try to rededicate it. So Hanukkah means dedication, rededication. They tried to rededicate the temple. And their idea was that Judas, who happened to be a member of the priestly caste, would run the rededication of the temple, and he'd say the right prayers and do all these things. And everything was going great until they discovered that they had no holy oil. The oil that they found was sealed, but they discovered that the seals had been broken. Now, one thing about oil for the menorah, which has to be lit in order to run the temple, you got to have 12 loaves of showbread. You got to have the oil for the menorah. They thought, well, we got the bread and we thought we had the oil, but the seals have been broken. And in order to consecrate the oil for the menorah, you need to put the oil in the light of the lit menorah for 7 days. So they went, oh, we're screwed. They found a still sealed bottle. And at this point came their moment of just, utter despair and utter desolation. And what they decided to do was to give it a shot. Now, God had basically left the temple. There was no sign of anything holy in that temple except what these rebel Jews had brought there. There was nothing holy about it. When the temple was dedicated, the Shekinah, the Holy Spirit, walked across the courtyard of the temple, a cloud of flame and smoke, walked across the temple into this tabernacle and stayed in the tabernacle for like 2 or 3 weeks, smoke pouring out of the tabernacle. There was nothing like that. There was nothing. They thought God had left the building. And out of a just sense of despair and determination to do honor to their God, they decided to light the menorah, even though they knew they could not do what they had hoped to do. And I find that decision so heartrending and so precious. That's why I celebrate Hanukkah. So the story is, of course, that they lit the menorah, expecting it to go out after a day, and then after a day, it didn't go out. And then after another day, it didn't go out. And another day. And eventually, it had stayed lit for 7 days, and the oil that they had placed in front of the menorah to bless it and sanctify it so that the temple could continue to run was sanctified. And that was how the temple got restarted. And that's what gets celebrated. That dedication, that determination, that sincere conviction and love of the God is what we celebrate with Hanukkah. So I think my time's up.
You are just perfectly at time. Thank
Jay Baba, Jay Baba.
you. Amen.
Now, do you say J Baba to Jay?
Yeah, Jay. And my wife's nickname is Baba. So we're all set. Just say Jay Baba.
Jay's coming back on Friday to delve into this story more. So this isn't the last time we've seen him. Thank you so much, Jay. This has been
No problemo. Thank you, guys.
all right.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Good night, everybody.
Really?
Have a
Oh,
good night.
I know so many stupid facts. You will enjoy yourself so much. You will have trivia for the next 50 cocktail parties you go to.
Now, Gail, are you still here? Right? Are you
Good
hosting?
Still here.
Shall I run the?
I
Okay.
think
Where are we going then?
Yeah, you are a host. But I forgot. I'll get the RT up right now.
okay.
Okay. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, Baba timed it perfectly. Oh,
You're still recording.
oh, thank you, Marilyn. You just,
Welcome.
yeah,
I can see it.
too. Yeah, all right. Stop recording. Stop. All righty. There we go.
We've got 17